We all know there's a growing trend. Lots of men, they just don't want to work anymore, which I can completely understand. But to what extent are unemployed people winning by opting out of the system? And I think there is a fair argument to be made that many people who are unemployed and men who are unemployed and not playing part of their role in this system are happy NEETs. And NEETs, if you're not familiar with the term, is not in employment or training. They've essentially completely dropped out of being a so-called productive member of society. There's some valid points to be raised about this. Let's listen to this here.
This is what they want to sell you. Work 45 years for 15 years of freedom. Are you fucking kidding me right now? 45 for 15? Everyone here went to kindergarten. 45 for 15. Homeboy, you're getting robbed, dog. You're getting robbed of your time, energy, and youth, bruh. Those 15 years of freedom are gonna be you shitting and farting on the couch, begging for it to end, waiting around to die. Guys, I saw a YouTube video of a dude who was a ski bum, basically being homeless and just chilling at a ski resort with the homies, looking for food, looking for what he's gonna do today, just living in the moment. That's literally how humans are supposed to live. We're not supposed to be working in a machine, in a cog. We're not supposed to be crammed up in offices. Doing labor tasks, stuff that's physical, isn't as bad mentally because you're active, you're sweating, you're being active. But I'm not gonna lie, construction is literally hell on earth, especially if you work in the desert. It's not for everybody. I'm gonna leave it at that, bro. You're breaking your back every day. You get paid very good money, but you're breaking your back every day. That being said, homeless people, bums, loiterers, people who don't have a typical 9 to 5, they're the happiest people on earth because they live on their own terms. They're living in the moment. They're doing what they want to do. That's basically what humans are meant to do. We're supposed to be here. You don't have to earn any validation. You don't have to earn anything. The fact that you exist means you have a birthright to exist in itself, bro. You don't have to do anything. The system has created a whole bunch of weird circumstances where people have to work to live. You have to pay money to live on earth. You're gonna get taxed.
So, I mean, this might sound like a bit immature at first, but let's dig into it a bit deeper. You know, when people are unemployed through one way or another, maybe they're living at home with their parents, maybe they're living overseas for low cost of living, they have a lot more time freedom. And he's got a point here about valuing your time, your energy, and your youth, rather than sacrificing it for a career. So the unemployment path, like I say, it might work for some people. And it's an interesting concept because how humans used to live in the past. They used to have slower paced lives. Some people just want to live and chill, and I've seen cases where people have maybe moved to Costa Rica, they live on very low cost of living type of scenario. They focus on surfing, maybe have a bit of money to spend on food daily, and live in kind of a very cost home, a low cost apartment, things like that. Now, I'm not saying everyone should do that, but that is an option for people too if they set themselves up right financially, or they drop out and work from home, things like that. Some people living at home with their parents, some people deciding to move abroad. Like I say, there's so many different options. And what's interesting here with Gen Z, Zoomers, and I would say a significant proportion of Gen Z men and even some case millennials, is they're realizing there's no point seeking the validation of this system because the status game is kind of rigged against many men. So it makes sense for them to have this new mindset where they drop out of a failed system and live life on their own terms, right? They're not coming to this conclusion in their 40s.
Bro, like, becoming a bum is the way, bro. Would you rather be a bum or work 45 years for 15? From the ages of 5 to 50 are your most fruitful years of energy, bro. That's when you have the most energy to do things, to change your circumstances, to create a new life for you and your family. From the ages of 18 to 65, you have two options: play the game or don't play at all. Playing the game is a general term because you could work a 9 to 5, start a business, you could scam, you can do this, you can do that, you can provide value. Possibilities are endless. Nonetheless, if you live in society, you have to play the game. It's non-negotiable. If you don't want to play, go ahead, be homeless, be a bum. Choose happiness, choose your time. Now, people like us, we want more. We don't want to just work repetitive jobs that make other people rich. No, we want to help our families. We want to retire our parents. We want to give back to the world. We want to have meaning. We want to know that what we're doing has value and it helps people. We want to be needed. That's basically the whole point of life. We want to feel needed. If we don't feel needed, then why the fuck are we here? One day I was walking in school and realized, oh shit, bro, I have free will. I stopped going to classes. All I did was go to the gym. Didn't even do any homework. I basically just failed an entire semester every single class because all I was doing was using the university's gym, going to the library, making videos, walking around campus, contemplating life. Like, damn, what's this about? What's the plan? Where am I headed? What's my future look like? I was at university wearing a blindfold and shooting a dartboard of what's my career. Dead ass. I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna get this random degree and hopefully it all works out. That's how you shoot yourself in the foot. If you're in college and have a set plan and know what you want to do with your degree, keep going. It's meant for you because you have a plan, you have a purpose and a direction. But for the majority of people that go to college, they don't even know what they're doing. They're just going there for the party experience. They're just going there because their parents told them to go, society told them to go. School in general is to prepare you just to work the 9 to 5.
Now, this might sound kind of weird or dumb, but what's interesting is what he's saying, people might say he's being immature, he doesn't understand the real world. But there are philosophers in the past that actually came up with similar ideas. And this is Diogenes, right? Now, if I give you the same perspective from someone like Diogenes, many people will actually take it more seriously because they'll think, oh, this is a deep philosopher. So let's learn a bit more about Diogenes and what he believes. Diogenes talks about three key areas, right? One is cynicism, right? He's kind of emphasized on living in harmony with nature, rejecting social conventions, validation and attention, less focused on materialism. He's more focused on freedom through simplicity. So that's a key little phrase there, freedom through simplicity, because many things you can do yourself rather than spending money on Uber Eats. You can cook a food yourself and teach yourself skills to become a better cook. You could live more minimalist, as he's showing here, right? And then in terms of self-sufficiency, he's always talking about autonomy, advocating for having minimal needs and wants, and living independent from social systems and luxuries and like the social classes and pursuing that. He also talks about, criticizing a lot of social norms, such as pursuing wealth for the sake of it, having kind of cultural values that might not sit well with you personally, just to fit in with society. And he talks about a lot about how absurd society is and being more authentic to your individual wants. And I think now we live in an individualistic society. Many people are caught up with consumerism and materialism or fitting in. But if you focus on the fact that everyone's operating by their own individual wants and needs, society's very transactional, everyone's out for themselves, you can be out for yourself and opt for less or opt for more freedom, which can be more beneficial for you because there's no obligation for you to participate in society how it currently operates, right? And it kind of offers quite an interesting lens into NEETs, which are NEET, not in education, employment or training, or these growing group of unemployed men who are kind of dropping out of society one way or another. So let's continue to listen to what this expert has to say.
That's all I'm saying. When I mean unemployed people are the happiest people on earth, is because they live on their own terms. They do what they want to do. The word employed means you work for someone else. Yes, self-employed means you work for yourself, but at the end of the day, it means you're unemployed. You don't work for a job. You don't work for a corporation. If you work a job right now and have a boss, there's nothing wrong with that because you have a plan. You know what you want to do. You have a plan to escape. You do not want to stay there. There's nothing wrong with being a janitor, a construction worker, a police officer. Those people help society run. They keep society, if it weren't for them, society would crumble. Dead ass. But I'm saying unemployed people are the happiest people on earth. If you ask most of these people in the 9 to 5s, most of them say, yeah, my job is pointless, I'm just trying to get through the day. But the ones who work a 9 to 5 and have a goal and a vision and a purpose and a dream, they get through the day very quickly. They get through the day enthusiastically because they know it all matters. You see what I'm saying? That's where the happiness comes from. That's where the purpose is, bro. It's all going towards something bigger. He's putting ice cream in his face because he gets to do what he wants. Granted, he might be loitering, he might be disturbing the peace, but he's happy doing what he wants. It's not about not working. You have to work. Even if you don't have a job and you're a bum on the street, you have to work to get your food. You have to work to get your water, work to bathe. There's work everywhere. It's about choosing the type of work you want to do.
Because self-employment, like he says, is a form of unemployment because it's kind of risky, particularly at the start, to develop your own income sources when it's not stable monthly income. And the key question is, what is your plan to escape if you are pursuing some form of unemployment or escaping the corporate rat race, right? Do you have a clear plan? Have those layoffs provided opportunities for you where you get a significant amount of money so you can live life on your own terms, or focus on developing your own skills before you go back into the rat race for maybe another couple of years while you work on things on the side? And it's all about focusing on offering real value to people if you do pursue some form of unemployment and you're working on building your own thing and finding your own purpose and reaching fulfillment. So I think those are the three key things to focus on and taking it step by step in that order. Firstly, if you're going to be unemployed for some time, to figure out your own thing. Firstly, offer value when you do think about your self-employment income, whatever type of service you offer. Secondly, find your purpose. And that links to the first point. If you find your purpose and it's linked to offering value in relation to that, that can really drive you and motivate you beyond the money you're earning. Because at the start, when you're self-employed, you're probably not going to be making a lot of money. And it does take a lot of commitment to a deeper life meaning purpose to do that when you're not earning a lot of money, but you're offering a lot of value to people to try and make some income and build this into a sustainable self-employment income. And the third thing is reaching fulfillment. And what would that fulfillment be? I think part of that is materialism, in the sense of maybe buying a house, buying some places to live, maybe globally, looking at different options there. So firstly, offer value to people. Secondly, find your purpose to keep you driven and motivated and ambitious. And that third point is reaching your fulfillment, which could be having a family, buying a place to live, and things like that. So time freedom in many ways is real wealth, and something that NEETs, those people, men who are unemployed, who are dropping out, they really value their time and their freedom when it comes to time, and see that as a real form of wealth and riches compared to just pursuing material wealth in a corporate job with social status.
Do tomorrow. Instead of sacrificing 45 years for 15, sacrifice 5 years for 60 years of freedom. Those 5 years are going to be you locking the fuck in, laser focusing. What do you want to do? Where are you headed? What's the future look like? What's your 5 to 10 year plan? Those 5 years are going to be me, fuck everybody else. If you want to help the world, help yourself. If you want to help the world, be the best version of you. If you want to help your family, be the best version of you. It starts with you. If you're a better person, it's going to be a better world. Those 5 years of sacrifice are going to test whether or not you want to play the game right and actually win in the end, or you just don't want to play at all and you want to lose and cry about it. I felt so free knowing that nobody cares, the universe doesn't care about you or what you do until you decide, where the fuck am I gonna go? Where am I headed? What am I gonna do today to make a better tomorrow? Guys, nobody cares. At the end of the day, nobody cares. So choose. What do you want to do? I'm not gonna tell you what you should do. I don't care what the fuck you do. You can work a 9 to 5. You can do this. You can do that. You can be an entrepreneur. You can be a bum on the street. I don't care what you do. What is that person? What is the God within you? What does the kingdom of heaven want within you? What do you want? Where do you find joy, peace, and fulfillment? That's the kingdom of heaven on earth right there. That's the kingdom of God within you.
Firstly, in having 5 years where you maybe take a break from your career, I wouldn't suggest you do it that long. It depends on your circumstances. But you have 5 years where you dedicate to really mastering a skill, to put yourself ahead of other people, to be a real leader in that particular niche. That can really help you to focus on, like I say, offering value to the world. And that 5 to 10 year, it might take 5 to 10 years essentially to build those skills and build a client base, so you are free permanently from your corporate job and being unemployed in a sustainable way through other income sources and offering skills that way. And this whole concept is key to build yourself, because when you're working for a company, you're building that company up, you're building their dream up, really building up systems that could collapse over the next couple months or next couple years, given how unsustainable the system is. But all the time, a lot of the corporate work you're doing is kind of meaningless. Now, you do it 1 year, you repeat maybe the same task next year if you're doing some kind of annual reviews. You're doing some kind of the same thing year in, year out. It's kind of meaningless work to you. So if you're going to build up something during your life, you should probably build your life yourself, build your dreams up, be the best version of yourself, right? And you can do this by stop playing by society's rules. And I think growing groups of men who are becoming unemployed, are dropping out the standard rat race, they are taking approaches like this where they're like, okay, well, I don't have to worry about society judging me. I don't have to deal with this constant judgment of failure, of this failed society. Why would I let a society that I don't even respect, that is obviously not going in the right direction, judge me for being unemployed? So in that sense, I can understand where they're coming from. And he made an interesting point here around college degrees, and this video specifically is kind of aimed at that younger demographic who might be feeling like this, men in particular. In many cases, it's kind of making you really question, should you get a college degree? Given everyone's got a college degree, is it actually generating the type of opportunities you're looking for? Now, in some cases they will, but it's worthwhile thinking through it carefully. So we start here where it's talking about how employers across a range of industries are dropping a job requirement, once considered a ticket to a higher paying job and financial security. And then it says part of it is employers realizing that they may be able to do a better job finding the right talent by looking for the skills or competencies someone needs to do the job, rather than a degree just being a kind of meal ticket to get that job. And this is someone who's coming from a senior director at a hiring platform, Indeed, right? Which everyone's heard of Indeed, right? So this whole thing is them more focusing on skills over just simply having a degree for the sake of it. And there's a good term for it here. The relaxing higher education requirements is in effect serving to correct the so-called degree inflation. Now, degree inflation is, of course, when everyone has a degree, it makes the degree devalued, right? Because everyone has it, so how much is it really valued, right? The same thing with money. The central bank's printing so much money, it's being inflated, the money loses value, so everyone's getting a degree, the degree loses value for what it has to offer you in terms of an advantage over other people also looking for jobs. And employers increasingly require a college degree for certain jobs, but many jobs you just need good skills and they don't necessarily relate to whether you have a college degree or not. So it's good that employers are now focused on that kind of shift. And that comes to this point here, prioritizing skills over diplomas. That's what's more important. And it's saying 45% of employers surveyed in the firm said they have done away with degree requirements for certain roles of the past year. 72% of firms said they prioritize candidates' skills and experience over diplomas, and that's something I'd advise. If you're going and you're at university or college and you're studying a degree, you think that's going to help you get a job, and it might help in many cases, but experience is so important and those skills are so important. How do you demonstrate those skills? Through extracurricular activities at college or university, being like the head of a university society on economics, on finance, things like that, if you're aimed at that industry. Or it could be things like internships you could do for your experience. Those will really help you stand out because everyone else is getting a college degree, right? And what's interesting here, it says the trend is slightly more prevalent among small businesses, with 47% of small and medium-sized businesses more likely to cross a college degree off the list of desired or necessary attributes, compared with 35% of larger businesses. Now, 35% of larger businesses, big corporations, Fortune 500 companies, they have to be more focused on playing the game because they are part of the game itself, right? In the sense that they're going to need people to tick off the box of going to a top uni, a top college, but small businesses, they're more competitive. They just want people who are good at doing the job. They don't really care so much, or what was your university, things like that. They're really focused on people who have the skills. So it really does make you think, if you're applying for jobs right now, or you're thinking about your college degrees, further education, if you're only focused on maybe smaller companies and you've got tons of smaller companies in your industry, you might be able to save yourself a lot of time and energy by actually focusing on developing the skills rather than doing additional qualifications.
According to official sources, it takes on average 20 years to fully pay back student loan debt. I suspect it will get much worse, but let's just accept this figure at face value for now. This means that you study hard for 4 years to acquire a skill, only to be set back 20 years in debt. We're not even talking 1 step forward, 2 steps back anymore. This is literally 1 step forward, 5 steps back at this point. This may seem like a fun and silly exaggeration on a Gen Z YouTube channel right now, but remember, this is the real-life frustration that so many young people are facing today, and why so many Gen Z and millennials are giving up on the system and realizing how bullshit it is. Level 4. Now it's time to descend to the final and very bottom level of the work-laziness paradox. Before we explore the absolute depths of despair here, let's take a quick moment to appreciate how far we've come thus far. We started out as a young guy, doing nothing all day, just staying home playing video games. Our income was zero, but so were our living expenses. We decided to take society's advice and work hard, and all that did was force us into more debt, as our work-related expenses cost more than the dog shit wages our company was willing to pay. We worked even harder to get a promotion, and we ended up losing even more money in the end, as we had to pay higher taxes, and our job-related expenses went up even more. So we once again took society's advice and went back to school to acquire a skill. And now we're not only stuck at zero in the short term, we've built up 20 years of negative long-term debt as well. You can see the pattern by now. The more and harder you work, the worse off you become. You look back at your starting point of being a young guy, doing nothing.
So this is an important concept, right? Should you go back to education after taking a career break, right? And in some cases it could work, but like I say, going back to the man who started the video, he was focusing on these type of things, like the system feeling like it's a rigged game, which is you can get from your basic instincts. And that's why people, I feel like part of people's anxiety that they feel with, that they deal with day to day, is that they feel like everything's rigged. And they're right. Your anxiety that this system is kind of rigged and rigged against you is right. It's not like you're in the Truman Show or you're a crazy conspiracy theorist or whatever they want to label you, right? So many times going and doing more school, more professional qualifications, taking on the costs, the student loans, getting an MBA or PhD, it's not necessarily worth it. And it's really important to check before you do professional qualifications, how does it really benefit your career? Because I know people, for example, in my profession, when I was working around risk management in banking and things like that, some people would do these diplomas and qualifications, but they wouldn't really think, is it adding anything else to their career? Yeah, you might learn some new skills, I'm not saying, or new technical knowledge, but does that really equate to accelerating your career path further? I know many people who be in senior roles and they have like basic degrees or they have very limited knowledge on certain topics. They just were good at playing office politics. So you've got to really think carefully on what skill and how much time you dedicate to learning new college degrees or learning new professional qualifications that might not pay off. In many ways, it might be more effective for you to pursue being a minimalist or dropping out of society, diversifying your income sources, and developing maybe small online incomes like some of the unemployed men might be doing, then you're spending that $50,000 or so on a new professional qualification, college degree, things like that. Should you maybe have that $50,000 and spend it on a rental property to get a mortgage so you can rent out that property and earn some income? That might be a better use of your time than doing a professional qualification. Society typically gives you terrible advice. They're brainwashed slaves, these normies, and they also only give you the same advice that put them in the same enslaved position they're in, where they desperately need their day job. They can't even opt for unemployment even for a couple months or a year just to figure out their life on their own, which some of these men are able to do, given they haven't committed themselves to the system like a slave, and they've got a bit of time and no financial commitments like family to maybe think things through first.
I had a friend who simply invested in foreign real estate property back in 2018 for $90,000. And because he researched it well, the property today is worth over double that. And because he's a single guy with minimal living expenses, he's essentially already set for life. His boomer parents were incredibly unsupportive of his decision and were pressuring him to be a doctor or a lawyer per usual. And he would have been absolutely miserable had he done that. They called him lazy for, unquote, taking the easy way out, but I promise you he's not losing any sleep over it. This is the perfect example of how thinking outside the box beats traditional hard work every time in the modern world.
So he's got some great points here, and the great point here is around, he had mentioned an example of someone who bought some foreign real estate and it actually doubled in value, right? For $90,000, it doubled to $180,000 or more. Now, I'm not giving financial investment advice to anyone, but there are opportunities out there for international real estate, and you got to be careful because sometimes in an illiquid market, you might think buying a nice condo on the coast of Brazil might be a good option for you to have as a holiday home, but is it really going to attract consistent Airbnb clients? Are you going to be using it effectively? When it comes time to sell it, is there a liquid market where people want to buy it, or is it quite illiquid? There's many considerations there, but I know a specific example personally where I knew a particular friend who was considering buying property in Dubai 10, 15 years ago. Just a small apartment or two when it's a lot cheaper. And they wanted to just either spend some time living there or rent it out and kind of pay off the mortgage and earn some income there. Now, typical boomers, typical normies talked him out of it, and he said it wasn't a good idea. Now, the truth is he might have not have had a double in value for that particular apartment, but it would have definitely gone up, right, over these quite a long time period, 10, 15 years. And he would have earned some income from having it as an Airbnb property. So these are things worthwhile considering. If you are considering the unemployment path or the unconventional path one way or another, there are important considerations where when you're thinking outside the box, also your investments can think outside the box and not follow the normally safe investments of putting, there's a typical percentage there of putting, 60% of your investments in bonds, 40% in equity, and having these kind of standard retirement portfolios that are super safe, that don't really generate as high income and has a high returns as some unconventional paths you might need to or might be able to pursue as being someone who's kind of employed or semi-unemployed and having different income sources. So if you're a single man and you have low cost of living, you can take a bit more of a risk and really enjoy yourself in your life in terms of being able to pursue alternative opportunities like that most people wouldn't be able to. If you're not in a lot of student debt or you're aggressive in paying off your student debt, so it's no longer a long-term commitment. Early on in your career, you have more money to save, invest, do other things like travel. And the key thing, like he's saying here, is not wasting your time, right? Not wasting your time, because the key thing here in this current situation for yourself as a man, I would say right now, is your freedom, your time freedom, financial freedom too. But a lot of that is your true wealth right now. Valuing your youth, your time, developing new skills for unique jobs that many people won't be considering. And final point I wanted to make around whether you should be unemployed, right? And I think if you're going to be unemployed, yes, you should be unemployed for some time periods, right? I think if you're fresh out of college, probably your best opportunity is to get a job and then maybe save your money, and down the line, or maybe in your mid-20s, early 30s, you might have a year unemployed, but it should be kind of structured where you know what you're going to do. Maybe you're going to be building a skill or developing your side income to a full-time income. And it really depends on what you're working for, right? You're working for to have a family, to have more freedom, to work abroad, things like that. And I think over time, as more and more men kind of drop out the system or drop out of the social norms, it'll become normalized to have a gap year to travel if they don't have kids and things like that. And many times you're told as a man, future is female. right? And I don't think the future is necessarily female, right? The future is kind of men fucking around and doing what the fuck they want. And what I mean by that is, if we're going to say, oh, women can do what they want, can be consumers, corporate career woman, they're focused on consumerism and things like that, and buying handbags, buying expensive shoes, living life on their own terms, it's all me, narcissism, being focused on what they want, then men can kind of do the same. If women are opting out of the social contract, then men will opt out the social contract too. And what does that kind of involve? The same way the last 70 years or whatever it is since feminism's been introduced, if men do the same and look out for their own best interest, a lot of that will involve naturally self-sufficiency, being able to do their own things, living with property that's been paid off, they don't have to pay a mortgage like a slave, and they can be independent of the system in a corporate job. So this system is just beginning to see like what is the inevitable outcome of men who kind of don't want to play by society's rules. And it's not going to be like they're women who are going to be necessarily sleeping around on Tinder, or like I say, just being a consumer for the sake of it, or aligning themselves to all these ridiculous social justice courses and protesting in the street about whatever the system pretends is an anti-authoritarian movement when it really is the authoritarian movement itself, all this political correctness, ESG, climate activism. You're going to see men like this who just be chilling and having fun by themselves. Society is not ready for this type of thing. It looks reckless, but I think society should kind of get used to it, right? Men not necessarily following the social code, partying, looking out for their best interest. And what is a man's best interest? The same way a woman's best interest could be all those consumerism things I mentioned before. A man's best interest will be having fun, going on adventures, traveling, hanging around with their friends, having close-knit groups of guys like a tribe, which I covered in some of my recent videos. And, it just depends on whatever they find interesting, which will be just kind of not following social norms like this. And the thing is, it's very obvious that society is collapsing, right? And if society is collapsing, why wouldn't you make the most of it and enjoy it? There's no point by playing by the rules of a failing system, right? Enjoy the decline, to quote Aaron Clary. And if you're living life on your best terms, it could look like this. It could be something as ridiculous as this, right? And the question you have to ask yourself is why you're participating in a failed system. And many of these unemployed men are kind of figuring this out, right? Breaking the rules. They still follow the law, but they break the rules of the social code, of social norms, because the social contract has already been broken with these men by these failing governments, by these corrupt corporations. So we do live in crazy times. There's no doubt about it. Many men don't want to work. Unemployment and unemployed men may be winning here, as we can see with these NEETs. There's a whole culture online, internet forums and things around NEET culture of men kind of dropping out of society. And if you're looking at alternative solutions, whether it's for your career, other income opportunities, I'm happy to help. Link in description if you want to speak with me directly. I've worked at some of these companies you can see on your screen here. And career advice, like I say, link in description if you want to speak with me. Let me know in the comments, what do you think about increasing groups of men not wanting to work, becoming more unemployed, enjoying their life by not playing by society's rules? Very interesting topic here. And there are 2 recommended videos on the screen right now. I'll see you next time.